I'm CK. Tonight we've got another module in Erica Synths EDU series. This is their EDU kick drum, a nice bass drum, kick drum module, hopefully. So we'll put it together, and almost more importantly, we'll take a look at the manual on the website, the assembly guide manual, whatever you want to call it. I found, as I've made 9 or 10 of these EDU modules, the manuals are as valuable, if not more valuable, than the module, because they give you a great understanding of how the circuit works and how electronic components work in audio circuits in a very practical, non-academically dense way. So even if you don't build this module, go to Erica Synths' website and check out the EDU series manuals. I think you'll find it very interesting. But for now, let's put this thing together, and I hope you enjoy the video. The box. EDU DIY kick drum kit. Box was packed by Erica Synths, and a good support link. It was put together in October 26, 2023, so only a couple of months from when I'm recording this right now. And so I picked this up from thonk.co.uk, as I do many of my modules. Bag of stuff, bag of electronic components. And here's the PCB and front panel. Nothing more in the box, so we'll get that ready for recycling. Let's look at the front panel first. We've got decay, a big pot for decay time for the kick. Pitch CV, probably attenuating the CV input. Tune depth, tune decay, tone of the drum, and distortion. Then it looks like an input for trigger, input for accent, pitch CV input, and then an output. One thing they don't do, they don't differentiate, like put a white ring around outputs and no ring around inputs or whatever. Other module designers do that. I find that very useful. But looks like a very straightforward kick drum. There doesn't appear to be different waveforms, but that's okay. Now we'll look at the circuit board, which is a surface mount quality circuit board. And we've got our pots, and all of them have their values listed: 10K, 100K, 50K, and so on. And there are the 4 jacks. On the back is where all our componentry will go. And let's see, all the values are marked, and the chips there are 2 chips, and they're both TL072s, so they're both op amps. They are not digital wave forms or something like that. So it's all the kick wave is coming from the components, analog type components on the board, like these 3 transistors here. There's another transistor, bunch of resistors and capacitors, all with their values listed, which is nice. Power connector will go here facing toward the camera because the knobs are on the other side, of course. Some electrolytic caps. I don't see any particularly unusual componentry on this one. Looks pretty straightforward. And we've got a bag of mechanical bits, which are also pretty straightforward. I'm going to look at 2 things that are of interest. One is the knob, the big knob, and it's a good one. A metal insert and a brass set screw, so that's real good. The power connector is keyed, so if you solder it on correctly, you will also generally have power correct, which is a good thing. Now let's look at all the other componentry that makes it go boom. foil caps. There's a little up. Transistor BC548C, possible replacement BC547C. So we'll see what we actually have. There are the two op amps. And I think I counted 4 transistors on the board, so let's see what we've got here. So we've got 2 BC547s, and we've got 2 558As. So let's see what the circuit board says to us about this. That's the 558 there. There is a 558 there. And this is a 558 and another 558. So yeah, we're replacing 2 of the marked 558s with 547s. Now I'm going to look at the schematic and see what's best to pair together, because this cluster of 3 and 1 distant, I'm not sure where I want to put the 47s and where I want to put the 5/8s. But well, this I wouldn't be surprised if the manual didn't go into depth on that. Some resistors, some power conditioning diodes, and some Zener diodes. There's a... Is that an inductor? Is there an inductor on the board? I didn't see an inductor symbol. No, that's just a different manufacturer's resistor. Some decoupling caps, more resistors. Looks pretty straightforward and going to be a pretty quick build. So I'll get the soldering iron heated up, bring up the build guide primarily because I want to take a look, besides showing you what I mean about how good a build guide it is and manual it is, I also want to see what they're doing about those transistors. So let me turn on the soldering iron and I'll be back in a little bit. Went to the Erica Synths website, and as I expected, the build guide and user guide is very excellent. You just go there, read up on this circuit, and you'll learn quite a bit. The other thing I did, I was stumbling around because I only saw these, I only saw 4 transistors, because I was only looking for 4, because there's only 4 locations. But there are actually 5 resistors, so I have enough to put the 558s where they belong. I'm sorry, we have enough 547s, 1, 2, 3, to go for the 548s, 1, 2, 3, and then the 558, which we have here, will go there, and we have 1 extra 558. And again, that's on the advice of this little sheet of paper. It says they may have put a replacement in, but that's upcoming. First, we're going to put all the resistors and diodes on the board. So let me pick all the resistors out, set them on the side here. There's one more resistor. So let us do our first little check. I want to see, these are brown tolerance. They have a brown stripe on the end, so I want to see what the tolerance band level actually is. So this is a 100K, but it's coming out at 99.9, which is plenty good enough for me. It's a fine tolerance, particularly with brown. So we'll put these here on the solder pad so I remember which ones I'm working with, and I'm working with the 100K ones right now. So let's put one on to see how the board takes solder. It should take solder pretty well. Again, this is a surface mount quality circuit board, and of course through-hole plated. So let's do one resistor. Let's see what it does. Seem to wick fine. And you can see it wicking through the solder hole, which is what you want. So the solder is fully around the resistor lead, which is excellent for corrosion prevention and for excellent conductivity. But that's about all there is to say about resistors. I will mention something about the diodes, since I'm going to be putting those on too. Very clear indication of where the stripe on the diode goes to get the right polarity, which is of course critical. So with that in mind, there's not much more to say about resistors or diodes. So I'm going to mute the volume and put the camera's video in fast playback and zoom through all these resistors. I'm going to be listening to the WQXR app. That's a classical station out of New York, but I listen to it on their iPad app. And we're going to have Symphony Number 60 in C, The Distracted, by Haydn. And this is by the Il Gardino Armonico with Giovanni Antonioni conducting. But for you, enjoy Resistor Time. So that's the end of Resistor Time for today. And the only thing I didn't mention is there are, what are there? 1, 2, 3 stand-up resistors on the board, because he's trying to save space, or he added them at the last minute, something like that. I don't like stand-up resistors, but they're there. Also, some people prefer to put the stand-up resistors on after they've done other low components like sockets and so on. I don't. I just put them on at the same time and put the rest of the resistors on. I don't generally find a problem with bending them over or them interfering with anything. So we're going to do these two sockets, and I'm positioning my fingers for the best way to hold them on both at the same time, because that's the kind of guy I think I am. So we'll do one leg, one pin, one leg on this one. Oops, and this one did fall out, so I did not outsmart the socket. And one pin on this socket. And now take a look, make sure they're both flat. This is not completely flat, so I'll reheat that solder ball and push it down with my finger. And now it's flat. So both of them are flat, so I'll do the rest of their pins. Now, next to the ICs, we'll put some of the decoupling caps on. We'll do these foilies. We'll do the 15 nanos first. These are non-polarized. Now I'm going to figure out these transistors. because there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and they're all labeled. These two are 5/5/8. The other three are 5/4/8. And as it says here, they might be 5/4/7. And it looks like we've got 5/4/7 instead of 5/4/8. Making sure we've got 3 of those, and we've got 2 of the 5/5/8, and we do. So we'll put the 5/5/8 on first for no other reason than they're the ones that are in my hand. Oh, he bends the pins backwards. Now we'll do the 2 electrolytics. Let's go up here by the power. And he doesn't have a plus sign. He does have a square positive pad, and you can see a line on the back of the circle where the stripe on the cap goes. Stripe indicating the negative side. Now we'll put the power connector on to finish off this side of the board. Power connector goes here, and it's got a little notch telling you where things go, but more importantly, here's the 12-volt indicator, and that means that the red stripe should be on this side. So let's just, and the connector is keyed. Oh, this is again, they use this ribbon cable that's got a very, very light red pattern on it. It's very hard to see. I wish they would use a solid like everybody else, but the keying lines it up correctly with the red stripe on this side. So we are clear to solder that fella down. And again, with components like this, solder one leg, pick it up, take a look. It's a tiny bit up. Now it's all soldered down, and I will finish. And there we go. There's the electronic side of the board all done. Now, time to put the pots and knobs and so on the front, but first, the cats are scratching at the door. It's time for them to get fed. Now it's time for the other side of things. So let's see, we're going to put the 1 meg up here for decay. And then we've got a bunch of little blue guys. That's a 10K. This is a B503, so 50K. Where does the 50K go? 50K goes, oops. 50K gets its pins straightened out because they got all snaggly in shipping. And we've got a 104, so that's 100K. I'll go here. And we've got a 104, another 100K. That's an A taper though, and that one goes here. And then we've got, should have another B, that's a 103. That's a 10K. So if that's a 10K, what did I put in here? Oh, I put a 100K in the 10K. Oops, and that one's got a snaggly tooth too. Now I'll put that 100K where it belongs. And the next one's a 250, so I'm going to say that's a 2503. What do you think? 254, same thing. 4 zeros after a 25. Now we'll put the jacks in place. And that is all the controls. So we'll put the front panel on. Get this jack back in place. All looks pretty good. We've only got, I'm not going to use my clamp tonight. I'm going to do my other technique for this. So we're going to solder one of the support legs of the big cap on top, big pot on top. Get that all soldered down. And then do one of the pins on one of the audio jacks or I/O jacks down here. Now I'll take panel nut on the pot. I put the one leg soldered down. Snug that down finger tight. Then we'll do the same on the little jack down here. Now everything is all in there real well. And no, I have not put the ICs in their sockets yet. I'm going to do that when I'm done with all the soldering. Now I'll solder all these pots and jacks. And that, oops, I missed one support leg. That's why I go back and look. It's not critical, but for completeness' sake. Now I'll put the ICs in, and they're both TL072 dual op amps. And again, go look at the manual for this and you'll see how very clearly how he's using these op amps in the circuit. Again, I can't say enough about how good these manuals are. Even if you're an experienced circuit designer, you may learn something from the way they put them together. And there we go. Now we'll do the panel nuts. And soldering iron off. And we put, I'm using a different cable, one that has an actual red stripe on it, because I hate that little dotted one they have. Now we'll turn this all the way counterclockwise. Get our little screwdriver. Get it roughly pointed at that one at the 0 mark. Yeah, close enough. There's the front. the side, the back, the other side, the top, and the bottom. Now we'll put it in the rack and see how she goes thud. And we're in the dedicated EDU series rack. I've got the sequencer, VCO, VCF, envelope, VCA, mixer, some noise, and now the kick drum. Let me turn it on. The only thing that I don't have, or two things that I have in here that aren't from the EDU series are this Blades of Ingenuity, ADS-AR, and LFO, because I haven't seen an LFO in the EDU series. I expect they have one, I just have not seen it. So we're going to trigger the sequencer, the drum from the sequencer that comes with the EDU series here. We should be hearing something now, but we're not. Not sure why. I'm going to make sure I'm doing the right thing over here. I'm not hearing anything. Let me take a look behind the thing. And it is all plugged in, I think. It's up. No, it isn't. See? That? This? This means you're not going to hear anything because it's not actually plugged in. So I'll do that. Turn the volume on the little amp down just in case it comes on strong. Okay, now we can make with the kick drumming. There we go. Okay. So that's the way it sounds with things in the middle. I'm going to turn everything down. Now we'll take decay up more. That certainly is neat sounding. I'm going to come back a little bit to a more standard one so I can play around a little bit with other things. I'm going to move the mic down a little closer to the speaker. Now we'll take pitch up. And then take decay up again. Pitch to middle, take tune depth, that sounds pretty neat. Now let's see what the tone knob does. There. I'm going to take tune decay up a little bit. Take that back down. I'm going to put in some distortion. So that's the way it sounds. Let me take it down here again. then I'm going to put the LFO into accent, which doesn't actually make sense. It's got to be tied to the trigger, so I'll take that back out. I'll put that in pitch CV instead. I'm gonna try accent on the beat coming out of this should work. I'm going to change that a little bit, vary it on some of the steps. Hear that? The accent is changing because I'm taking some of the, I have a 3-step sequence going here, or 4-step sequence going here. I'm going to take the volume on the accent all the way out, and now just add it at random. Okay, I'm going to take that back out. Take the LFO all the way down. Bring it back up. I'm going to turn the sequencer down a little bit. Now we'll take the LFO up again. Hear the way it's fading the pitch out. That pitch out, CV all the way out, put it back in the middle-ish, speed up the LFO a little bit. Turn distortion all the way up again. I'm going to take the pitch all the way down now. Slower on yeah, it sounds neat. Take this all the way back down to basics, and at the very basic you get a click. So there you go. It's a pretty good kick drum. Got lots of controls. The pitch CV is good. The accent is okay. It's not real aggressive, but that's okay. So that's it. That's another good module in the EDU series. And again, I say it repeatedly because it's important. Go look at their manual. It's really, really good. And pretty straightforward to assemble. A good second or third kit, I figure. And I hope you enjoyed the video.